Using basic formulas in Excel 2010. This is actually where tutorials start to get very interesting. Let's look at the topics: introducing formulas and references, inserting formulas, and editing and correcting common formula errors. Now, formulas consists of functions, mathematical functions that can be predefined, like sum, average, count. It can also include references, which identifies a particular cell in the workbook using the cell coordinates. It can contain constants, values that don't change, operators, arithmetic, plus, minus, divide, comparison, text concatenation, or reference a range of cells. And finally, parentheses. Identify parts that must be evaluated before others. Now let me show you examples. Okay, let's look at examples. Here I've got a sheet containing a product name with customer's name and total number of sales per quarter. So now I want to start. Let me show you an example of a function. Remember, Excel will always calculate what is on the right side of the equal sign. So in every time you want to write your own formula, remember you must start with the equal sign. Okay, so now I want to add the totals of all the sales in quarter one. So sum, open bracket, select your range of cells, close it. Total one. That is a predefined function from Excel. A reference just means I'm referencing another cell. Equals, let me reference total 1. Enter. So if I change one of these values, both of them, total 1 and total 2, will change. That is a reference. So I'm basically just referencing another cell. A constant is when I add a value. It's 50. So if I change here, even though both of them will change, total 2 will always be 50 more than total 1. That is a constant. An operator already used is the addition. So I can say, okay, you know what, instead of adding 50, let me minus 50. So now total 2 is always 50 less than total 1. Comparison, quick comparison here, equals this. Is it bigger than this one? False. No, it's not. If I change it to a smaller than, smaller than true. Concatenation you use with text. So total 1, concatenate is the ampersand sign, total 2, total 1, total 2. At the moment it doesn't 100% make sense, but you'll see later on with text you'll use this all the time. Okay, now remember, Excel will do the calculations based on your high school algebra. So it will always start with parentheses first, then negative values, then percentages, then multiplication, division, then addition and subtraction, concatenation, and finally comparison. Before I forget, Excel will also evaluate your formulas from left to right, similar to high school algebra. But remember your parentheses. Remember what big difference it makes. Let me give you a basic example. 5 multiplied by 3 plus 2 gives me 15. But now I put in brackets. 3 plus 2 gives me the same answer. The only difference is I added brackets with the 3 plus 2. So just keep that in mind. Regarding references, you get 4 types of references: relative, absolute, mixed, and 3-dimensional. Don't worry about the names. I'll explain all of them to you now. Relative means a formula changes if the formula is moved to a different cell based on the relative location of the new cell. So in other words, this is relative, C15. Let me copy and paste it, Control C, Control V. Now it's 0. Why is it 0? Because my formula changed based on the location of my new cell. See C15, if I look at the formula of this cell, it's D15. That's relative. Absolute reference doesn't change if I copy it. The way you do that is you add the $sign before your row and column. So I'm saying if I copy my formula, my row, my column and my row doesn't change. Let me try it again now. Control C, Control V. Now it stays the same. This is very useful. Mixed is just a combination of keeping my column and keeping my row. For instance, I can say keep my column the same, but my row can change. So if I copy it over here, stays becomes 0 because my formula is now C19 and because my row changed. Three-dimensional sounds very complicated, but it's not. It's just relative based on a cell that is on another sheet or another workbook. So equals, click on my sheet name, click on the cell, enter. Just adds the name of the sheet or on another workbook, but remember your workbook must be open. Equals this value. So now you can see in square brackets that's the name of the workbook, that's the name of the sheet, that's the coordinates of the cell, and note that it's absolute reference. Now I can say add this cell plus cell on another sheet, enter. So now it's a combination of all three types of references. Editing and correcting common formula errors. Excel detects many common types of errors automatically. However, it can't recognize every possible type of error. You need to be careful not to make mistakes when entering them. We decided to put some guidelines for you. Always start with an equal sign, match opening, closing parentheses, indicate the range using a colon, nest no more than 64 functions, place an exclamation mark after the worksheet name, avoid dividing by 0, and very importantly, use the correct types of arguments. For instance, text or numeric. So the most important guidelines here are use the correct types of arguments, avoid dividing by 0, match opening and closing parentheses, and always start with an equal sign. Now Excel can detect several types of common mistakes in formulas. For each error types, it recognizes and displays a particular error value, and here they are. So if it only shows you several hashes, then the column isn't wide enough, just widen the column, or hash not applicable, the value isn't available to a function, usually a lookup function, and you can read the rest here. Most of them relate to either the value is wrong, the value argument is wrong. In other words, it's looking for a number, but it finds text, or the other way around. Let me show you an example. Okay, I've got a spreadsheet open here, and you can see here are errors. Click on it, and you can see there's an exclamation mark. Hover over it, and it gives you a description. The value used in this formula is of the wrong data type. So somewhere I've got a text which was supposed to be a number value, or the other way around. But in this case, I know it's supposed to be a number, so somewhere I've got a text in the formula. If you want help on your error, you can click on it and say help on this error. Now it gives you, click here, correct the value error, gives you a description, symptom, causes, example, and resolution. Here it says cells that may contain text. So somewhere I've got text. So I know now where this formula gets its data from. So let's see, where do I have text? I think here, there's text here. You can see the rest of the column is numbers, and this one is text. But it gets it from somewhere else. Let's see, it's from this tab. There's text. So let me type in a number here. Go back to the original tab. Summary. There we go. Now the errors are gone. So if you follow the guidelines that I mentioned now, most of your formulas should be fixed. And with a little bit of practice, it should be fine.